Hi traders, so I'm looking at ASML today and the Nasdaq. Main reason being is that this company is releasing their earnings in a few hours before the US stock market opens. So two basic scenarios are, of course, that it beats earnings, probably gaps higher, misses earnings and gaps lower. I'm not going to try and predict what happens there, but ultimately when you look at how strong this trend is, even if we get a negative report, unless it's absolutely diabolical, I just think it's such a strong trend that there are going to be traders here looking for such dips to try and take it back higher anyway. Now, whether it gets to new highs or not is kind of irrelevant. I just think that sentiment towards the stock is pretty good overall. When you look at the price action, it's bobbing above the 50 and 100-day averages. What's also interesting as well in price action is you've got almost this falling wedge pattern, which is a bullish continuation pattern in an uptrend. These patterns can get messy and there's always room for one more low, but overall, now price is getting choppy, it's converging. RSI is kind of holding above 50, so there's nothing here that's really signifying a bear market at the moment. And we've got a potential bullish continuation pattern. For me, it's more of a question of when will the swing low come. Potentials at the moment are you've got a double bottom around 1720. Even if we do get beneath that 50-day average, we've got a monthly pivot point there. So if we get beneath the 50-day average, let's say 1700, the next obvious support level is around the May VPOC, point of control, near the 100-day average. And again, because of the decency of that bullish trend, I think it could still be looking for a dip higher. Now, when we look at the higher time frames, it's just something to keep in mind, is it is getting a bit choppy. And you can see that you've got this bearish engulfing candle, you've got this shooting star, volatility has dropped. So that's why I'm a little bit ambivalent into saying this is going to go to new highs. I'm not 100% that it is, but I do see opportunity for a retracement within this candle. I'm still equally open to a deeper pullback down towards 1600 before the trend continues. Whether it happens sooner or later is probably down to today's earnings. If we look at the Nasdaq, I'll start on a separate chart first. And on the left-hand side, we've got Nasdaq daily. You can see that it's coiling. When you see that pattern after an uptrend, it's pretty tempting just to escape. We're probably looking at a bullish breakout. I don't think it's that simple because the dynamic has changed. What we've got down here is stocks above their 200-day average. What's interesting about that is the rally or the indicator moved up with prices for up until June. Since then, the index is going in this coiling pattern, yet the stocks above the 200-day average are still trending higher. What that basically means is that the top stocks in the index are no longer driving the market. So you've got a broader trend here emerging. So smaller stocks within the index are still in a bull trend, and actually overall that is quite constructive of a bull trend. But gone are the days, for now at least, where your Meta, Google, etc., or Nvidia are just driving the price action. That makes sense because AI trade is getting a bit thin. So because you've got this rising higher, I think even if we get a pullback on the Nasdaq, it's probably still looking for by the dip mentality unless we get a huge risk off. Just going a little bit deeper into that, this orange line is basically Nasdaq divided by Dow Jones. That topped in June. Perfectly there. So that basically means Dow Jones is outperforming Nasdaq since June. That ratio against the S&P 500 topped out middle of June, 22nd. And the blue line is actually the Nasdaq divided by Nasdaq composite. So that's like thousands of stocks in the composite. And again, every single stage, it's telling us the same story where the select few stocks that were supporting the Nasdaq rally don't have that same feeling. That's not necessarily bearish for the index, but it just means that we've got a broader breadth behind the move, and it's not necessarily that the top 10 stocks supporting it. So the game has changed essentially. Now, just finish up on the futures chart. I think this is where it gets a little bit messy. So the daily chart on the left, we can see that lovely rally. Prices are consolidating or in this potential triangle formation. The thing to be cautious of at the index level is I don't think we're going to be looking for a nice clean breakout of this triangle. It's one of these patterns, and it's that time of year where I think you can easily get sucked into these classic patterns that don't generally work out so well. It's summertime in the US. Generally, when we get to July, August, it's lower volatility, so price action can become more fickle. Also notice that the daily trading volumes are trending lower and price action is choppier. So unless we get a significant risk on, I'd be quite suspicious of a decent breakout. And when you look at the intraday timeframes, there's plenty of resistance levels here to sort of go off. When I look at the daily and the weekly levels, we're teasing this daily R1 already ahead of the open. You've got 31,000 these swing highs. So now I wouldn't be too surprised if we get a bit of a pullback first. If we do get a movement towards the weekly VWAP 29,700 area, you've got the weekly VWAP, you've got monthly and daily pivot points. So potentially good support there, and a more favorable level for bulls to be looking for discounts. Would be good resistance around 30,300, 30,400, etc. So I guess the key takeaway here is that near-term sentiment could be directed by ASML earnings before the open, which way that gaps could dictate the start of the session. And beyond this session, I'm not convinced we're going to be getting a significantly clean breakout in either direction. Probably be looking for intraday setups over multi-day moves. Anyway, hope that's useful. Wish you best of luck with your trading.